Welcome back to Local Garden Queens. I'm in the Brooklyn garden today, getting ready to make a new compost pile for the year. Last year's compost pile was put together around this time, maybe a little later, I think December possibly. But nonetheless, that compost has been sitting all winter, all spring, and all summer. And now it's time to move that compost and make a new one. It's been sitting here, breaking down. The microbes, little insects, bugs, been helping. And it's broken down pretty good. I can't really tell what's leaves for the most part. And that's what you want to see. Now this compost pile is not quite ready yet. Like I said, it's going to sit over in this area for another 2 years, much like this one. Next season, this will be the compost that we're going to use for the beds. Aside from little pieces of twigs and little micro roots, you can see it's very fine and it's ready to use. Everything's blended in, everything's been broken down. This compost pile, when it was started, was predominantly coffee grounds and leaves. These two ingredients turned into that with the help of microorganisms and everything else that was involved in the process. For last month or a month and a half, we've been gathering the ingredients for the compost. As you can see, bags of leaves. Some of the black bags, they contain grass clippings, and all of these bags are coffee grounds. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the chicken wire and the poles. And I'm going to set up the new compost in this corner here. Here's the finished compost. That is the compost that was here. This will sit for another 2 years. You still see some leaves here. Obviously nothing has quite completely broken down like this one. But I promise you, in 2 years, this will look like this. And I set up the chicken wire with the posts, and it's ready to be filled with the leaves, the coffee grounds, and whatever plant matter I have in the yard. We're halfway done. It looks like a lot. Here's all the garbage. I think I'm about a third of my supply in here. I'll probably put a total of 3 to 4 bags of leaves, probably 8 bags of coffee grounds, and the rest of the bulk was just what I got from the yard. Pumpkin vines and weeds and everything, just dropped it in there. I'm hoping, since I have a lot of green materials this year, it'll get up to possibly 150. We'll see what happens. Anyway, the layers, it's obviously not going to mix itself, but it's okay. Next time I turn it over to here, all the layers are going to get mixed in. Compost pile of 2019 is complete. I used up probably 3/4 of all my supplies that I had gathered. It's in layers, as I mentioned. I had about 2 bags of leaves on the bottom and 2 bags of leaves on top for insulation, I guess. So I'm going to leave this compost uncovered for now. I want the leaves to get wet, and I will cover it after a rainstorm or two, depending how heavy the rain is, because if I leave it uncovered all winter, the first time I made a compost, I had an issue. It didn't really heat up because it was too wet. And if it's too wet, it's going to reduce the amount of air between the components, between the leaves, between whatever I put in there. And if you reduce the amount of air, it's going to become anaerobic, meaning it's going to smell. And I don't need that. Actually, you want aerobic. Is a better compost if there's oxygen supplied. And also I'm going to leave this compost uncovered and this compost uncovered for now. Again, probably one rainstorm, just get it nice and wet, and then I'll cover it up for the winter. I'm predicting this compost, whenever I get a chance in a week or two, I'll come around again, is going to heat up to 130 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, if not more. I put a lot of green materials in there, the coffee grounds, the green grass clippings, the green pumpkin vines and weeds. Everything was still fairly green, and I stacked it in there layer by layer among leaves. So it was green material and leaves, green material and leaves. There must be, I want to say, about 6 layers in here. The compost pile is about 3.5, maybe 4 feet high, and 5 to maybe probably 5 feet across. It's been a week since I made this compost, and it's time to check the temperature inside. So I have here a thermometer. It's about 2 feet long. Let me show you the temperature outside right now. It is in the low 50s. So I will go ahead and put it in the middle. And watch the temperature climb. So since we made the compost, it's rained. I think we got about 3/4 of an inch. So everything is pretty saturated inside. And as I'm filming this right now, I'm looking at the compost, and I do see steam coming up from beneath the leaves. So as I mentioned previously, I was expecting this compost to reach very hot temperatures, which it has. Let me zoom in a little bit more. You can see here it is about 154 degrees inside, and still going. It is actually very, very hot. You don't want it to get past the gray zone. This is a little too much now. I never had it this hot before. Again, there was a lot of nitrogen this time in the ingredients, a lot of coffee grounds, a lot of grass clippings, which do get very hot. And so I guess we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at close to 160. I'll probably come back sometime around Christmas and do a turn of the compost, which I do plan to film that. So as always, like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to comment.